Yeah, sure, we have Warboss, but what about second Warboss? Welcome back to the Rambles Go Fast. Old Big Mek here. And even though we're talking about war bosses, old Big Mek knows what he's talking about. So let's get into it. That's right, we are talking about war bosses today. And this isn't so much tactics as what to do with them on the battlefield as much as it's how to get ready to use them before your game. Because a great big part of Warhammer 40K is actually in your planning, in your army build itself, figuring out your detachment, all of your different data sheets, and how they're going to work together. And every single army needs the same thing, and that is a warlord. And who better to warlord your actual Waaaaagh than a war boss himself? And there are many, many choices at that, and they all do very different things. So let's get into it. Now, I do want to preface this by back in the day, meaning I think before 10th edition, because I don't remember this even being a thing in 9th, you could only have one war boss. You see, there is no room in an orc Waaaaagh for more than one leader. The biggest orc is the one that leads, period, the end. So having more than one war boss didn't make a whole lot of sense. But that has now changed, and you can indeed have second war boss, and even third. And if they have different data sheets, you can have 3 of each. It's going to get complicated. All right, first we need to define Warboss itself. We'll head to our 10th edition codex here, and you'll see that we have a couple of data sheet entries. Of course, you got the big boss himself, Ghazghkull, but we're not talking about him during this video. We are only talking about generic, non-named Warbosses, meaning you can indeed, thanks to the rule of 3, take up to 3 of each of these data sheets. So I just want to point that out again. For those of you that are unfamiliar with how 10th and a half edition works for 40K, every data sheet here that is not a named character, you can take 3 of, unless it's battle line, then you can take 6. Characters are obviously not battle line, but that does mean that you get 3 Warboss and 3 Warboss in Mega Armor, if you so choose. Now, there are other bosses, such as the Beast Boss. However, that is a completely different thing that we'll cover in a different video. For today, we are only interested in the old school Warboss himself. So before we even get into stat lines or anything like that, you have to understand the difference between the 2 war bosses and why they have different roles on the battlefield. And that's going to, again, come in your data sheets. So starting with regular Warboss, you can see that we have an infantry, character, and Warboss keywords. Those are all going to be very important, as well as the leader section here. So this can be attached to boys and knobs. So that means in order to maximize the benefits of this character in your army, you are definitely going to want to have at least 1 squad of boys or knobs to attach him to. Now, looking at his abilities that will confer onto the unit will help you decide which unit you're going to do, as well as what your detachment you're in, but that's starting to get into the nitty-gritty. Looking at the boys data sheet itself actually tells us a lot more information. Down here in Bodyguard, if you have a starting strength of 20, you can attach up to 2 leader units into it instead of 1, but only if one of those is a Warboss model. Now, that does mean you can actually attach 2 Warbosses, you just can't attach 2 other things. You have to have at least 1 Warboss. Now, Knobs doesn't have that. What it does have, though, is here under Abilities. So while a Warboss model is leading this unit, each time a attack targets this unit, the strength characteristic of that attack is greater than the toughness characteristics of this unit. Subtract 1 from the wound roll. Basically, it's making these guys harder to wound. So you're never going to have a 3-up wound on these guys. You're always going to have at least a 4-up thanks to that, helping them survive a little longer. But that's it. Those are your only 2 options. You will not be attaching a Warboss to a squad of Beastnaga boys or some Flash Gits or Ludas or Burnas or anything else. In fact, you're not even going to be able to put him on a bike and put him with a bike squad. That's what the Def Killer War Trike is for. So what you're stuck with is a guy on foot who is buffing the unit he is attached to. So you need to decide whether you're going to take him with knobs or you're going to take him with boys. Now, if you are doing the Bully Boys detachment where the knobs get the double attack and whatnot, it can be good to put Warbosses on there, but as I've talked about in my Bully Boys video, I don't think that that's a good idea. I'd still put the Warboss with the boys, and then the boys would get to Waaaaagh twice, because your knobs are already getting to Waaaaagh twice, and then you get to spread the love a bit. So really it comes down to, you're going to want to put them with a boy brick. And I do highly, highly, highly recommend that 20-man brick and getting that second character on there. And you do have options with that second character. You could take a weird boy and do the jump to move that big brick around. There's definitely use cases for that, as well as the pain boy, which is going to make them a lot harder to kill, because he is going to confer that 5-up feel no pain to the entire unit, Warboss included. Now, back in the day when 40K was a lot more granular and you were able to pay points costs per item on your model, you had a lot more options as far as what kind of combi weapon his combi weapon was, whether or not he had a big chop or a power claw and such things like that. These days, every single Warboss is exactly the same. There is no options. And that loadout is right here. You get a generic combi weapon. They are no longer, specified as to be a combi flamer or combi bolter or whatever. It's just combi weapon. So you're going to get one shot at that, and with a 5-up to hit, you're probably not ever going to hit anything, as well as twin sluggas, which are your pistols, and then your melee weapons. You get an extra attack from your attack squig. There's a big choppa and a power claw. And that's it. That is what you can do. You can see here under unit composition, there is no options for the war gear itself. Now, you can obviously pay points to put an enhancement on them, like one of them is Head Wappa's Big Chopper or whatever, if you wanted to do so, but that doesn't actually have to be modeled on the model itself, because it's something that you pay for in the list building stage, and most of them are on paper enhancements. So that's your Warboss. He's not the most exciting character anymore, but he is still very useful. And the fact that now you can have 3 of these is actually really good, because he does provide that really great ability, which the main one is Might is Right. That's while he is leading a unit, every time a model in that unit makes a melee attack, you add 1 to the hit roll. That right there is why you want to attach him to a unit. There is zero reason for your Warboss to be walking around on his own on the battlefield. He should be attached to a unit from the get-go. And obviously, if you've got a brick of 20 boys, it's going to take them a lot longer to get worn down, giving you much more ability to use that particular ability, not to mention conferring that ability onto more things, right? 20 boys getting an extra attack is a lot more, or getting an extra hit roll, extra 1 to their hit roll. There we go. The words will come out eventually. An extra 1 to their hit roll on their attacks is a lot more effective than 10 knobs. Old Big Mek here, interrupting your video with a very important announcement. And that is, YouTube, once again, has stopped paying as many teeth to content creators such as myself, which means it's harder than ever to keep a channel like this going. In between paying for extra internet, for upload speeds, cameras, memory cards, and of course the actual models and paints that we use on the channel to bring you super awesome content, such as Every Kid is an Ork kit, those things take teeth. And with less teeth coming in, we need your help now more than ever. So head on over to our merch store at theredonesgofasta.com and pick yourself up some really sweet merch made by somebody you actually know instead of some faceless corporate overlord. We've got our Red Squid Gives You to Waaaaagh snapback hat, of course the Dirty Paint water mug, and the water bottle. Metal. You can whack a get with this. Not to mention really awesome stuff such as the Goes Fasta shirt from our artist BenBam. We love working with other artists and are bringing more stuff to the merch store every month. So definitely check it out. Everything you purchase helps this channel out, and I really appreciate it. All right, back to your video. So now that you know what to do with regular Warboss, I know all of you are probably thinking, well, what about that second Warboss you let in with there, old Big Mek? Well, that's this guy right here, Warboss in Mega Armor. You may recognize him from the first Combat Patrol Orks had. He debuted in that box and is a kind of pseudo push fit kit, but it is an absolutely fantastic kit. Very, very, very cool looking model. This is one of my absolute favorites. I really love the update to Mega Armor, and I look forward to more units coming out like him. However, he is different on the battlefield than our friend original Warboss, so let's take a look. All right, so Warboss in Mega Armor is here, and as you can see, just like regular Warboss, he has no options. You have a big shooter, which is shot by the Grot, so it's actually got a little bit of a BS to him, and the Ooge Choppa, and all he can lead is Mega Knobs. That's it. You have no choices to make with this guy. You're just going to want to put him in a squad of Mega Knobs and call it good. Now, you do see his abilities. He does have the exact same one. The might is right. So each time a model in the unit makes a melee attack, you add 1 to the hit roll. So he's got to be leading a unit for that. So you definitely want to do that. And yeah, that's it. That's all you got. So same thing. We'll roll over here to the Mega Knobs and check them out. And as you can see, they actually do have options. So everybody starts off with a custom shooter and power claw. However, under the war gear options, any number of them can replace their custom shooter and power claw with one of the following. So you can either take a combi weapon and a power claw, or a combi weapon and a kill saw, or a custom shooter and a kill saw, or 1 kill saw and 1 power claw, which doesn't make a whole lot of sense, or twin kill saws. I very much like the twin kill saws version because you do get that twin linked with the strength 12, AP -3, 2-up damage. Not to mention, they're orcs. Their shooting is just bad, so unless you've got them with a Big Mek or something like that that's going to increase their shooting, hitting on 5-ups just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Just bring more weapons. Now, I do want to point out that during the Waaaaagh, they have a Feel No Pain of 4-up, which, again, if the Warboss is attached to the unit, he gets that as well. And then the unit composition, you get 2 to 6 of these guys. And that is going to be important for transport because Mega Armor guys are really, really slow. You can't jump them around, so they need a ride to get around the battlefield. Good old truck can carry them. It does have a transport capacity of 12. However, Mega Armor takes up 2, so you can only take 6 total. So your Warboss plus 5 guys is what you're going to get in the truck. If you do want to take the full squad of 6, you need the good old-fashioned battle wagon here, who can carry 22 infantry, so that gives you 11 Mega Armor guys if you take that. So yeah, kind of disappointing that the unit itself has no options or anything to do with it, but you know, again, you do get to make choices with that Mega Knobs squad, and then whether or not you're going to put them in a truck or a battle wagon, or you know, risk it for Gork and Mork and trot across the battlefield really, really slowly and hope that you don't die. And that's it. That is all the Warboss options for Orcs right now in 10th and a half edition of Warhammer 40K in the summer of 2025, if you're watching this at some point in the future. But basically what it comes down to is our HQs are kind of lacking compared to most armies, especially like if you want to think about Beaky's good old-fashioned Space Marines. They have captains and different multiple layers of captains and lieutenants and different multiple layers of them, as well as your guys that are in Terminator armor and things of that nature. So they have a plethora of HQs to pick from and use to lead their units. We don't have to think about it that hard. You basically get regular armor or Mega Armor, attach them to one of 3 squads, and away you go. There's not a whole lot of decision making going on in there, which does mean you should probably load up on these guys and use them on the battlefield, because they are going to be easier to remember, easier to actually access and use, and, well, frankly, a little bit more killy. Now, that's not to say that we don't have other options. I obviously alluded to your beast bosses, and we also have Big Meks, duh, as well as, you know, your pain boss, and then your named characters and whatnot. We do have a lot of HQ choices. It's just when it comes to your basic, like, just bigger buffer dude, every army just about other than ours has more options than that. We're kind of stuck here at just having these 2 for the moment. Now, I don't think that that's going to hold forever. This video, I predict, is definitely going to age like milk, because come 11th edition, when Orcs are in the launch box, we are definitely getting a new Warboss, and you can bet your bottom teeth that along with that new Warboss is going to be a multi-part kit like all of the other armies are getting, where you're going to have a zillion options in it. Think about like the new Eldar guy, the Autarch. So the Autarch kit, you open it up and it's got like 3 or 4 different backpacks that do different things. He's got like a regular one with wings, and then one with like the warp spidery thing. He's got like 3 different shooting weapons and like 5 different close combat weapons, and you can equip him all of these different ways. You also have a very similar thing, obviously, with Space Marines, but even other armies have cool loadout characters like that. And you know that when this old guy finally gets redone, well, not this old guy, this guy's from Assault on Blackreach, because I am old Big Mek, and that's how long my Warboss has been in my army. But when the current Warboss gets replaced, you know it's going to come with a lot more options like that. You will definitely see a return to being able to pick between some sort of choppa, maybe even an Ooge choppa like the Mega Armor guy, and a Power Claw. Maybe you'll see something even cooler like a Kill Saw Power Claw combo thing and whatnot. And of course, we have seen some really cool stuff with Waaaaagh Blackhawk, the special edition model that came out, including the fact that it was on a 50mm base and not a 40, even though it came with generic Warboss rules in it to use in games. So don't get too attached to your Warboss is what I'm saying. All that being said, Warboss is always a good pick for an Ork Waaaaagh. If you have the original Combat Patrol and you've started off with the Warboss and Mega Armor, just get yourself some Mega Knobs, put some Kill Saws on them bad boys, get them a truck to ride around in, and go have yourself a ball. He's a fantastic kit to have. If you don't have him, I would definitely pick him up. He's not going anywhere. He's not changing anytime soon. Again, he is one of the newest kits in the Ork catalog, and it is a very, very satisfying kit to build and paint, and very satisfying to play with. So definitely highly recommended for him. And then again, regular Warboss, I wouldn't necessarily like not get one or anything like that. I know they can be hard to get, so don't overpay. But if you've got Waaaaagh, you know, use him. If you got an old Warboss, use him. I've talked before on other videos about making a Warboss out of the knob that comes in the Monopose Boys kits, because he is the size of a Warboss of old, which is another option. But yeah, basically what it comes down to is if these guys change, or when they change, in 11th edition, you can either rebase them and keep going, or you can decide to turn these guys into knobs in your army, or you can retire them to the display shelf and thank them for their years of service in your Waaaaagh. Which, let's face it, is probably where Assault on Blackreach Warboss is going when this is all shaken out. Unless he ends up as a knob. He could make a very good knob. Alright, that's going to do it for this video. Let me know what you think about Warbosses down in the comments below. I really appreciate hearing insights from everyone. What do you run your Warbosses in? Do you prefer them with boys, or do you prefer them with knobs? If you do them with boys, do you do the full 20-man brick and attach that second character? And if you do you use a second Warboss? I've always been intrigued by that, if it's actually worth it or if it's better to get the Feel No Pain. I'm always of the mind it's better to get the Feel No Pain or the Jump, but who knows, maybe one of you is a little bit more cunning and morky than brutal and gorky. Alright, that's going to do it for this video. I got to get back to painting some stuff to bring you the next one, so if you don't want to miss out, make sure you are subscribed to the channel. Don't forget your merch in the merch store, and until next time, Waaaaagh!